Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to do a deep dive tonight into this Thursday night football matchup.
Oh, yeah.
Week 8, Vikings, Ram, and...
this game is... Yeah, it's got a lot going on. Potential playoff implications, clashing styles, and, trade rumors.
Trade deadline's coming up.
Exactly, just a week away. You sent us this awesome preview article that, really broke down the betting odds, but I was thinking maybe we can kind of dig a little deeper. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. And I think what really jumps out at me is kind of the contrasting narratives for these two teams. You got the Vikings sitting at 5-1.
Right. Looking good.
Looking like a contender in the NFC. And then you got the Rams who are struggling at 2-4 with all these whispers about a rebuild.
Yeah. It's like two ships passing in the night, right?
And, the article you sent, it kind of really leans into that whole contrast thing. We see the Rams potentially saying goodbye to some big names.
Oh, yeah.
There's talk about Cooper Kupp, star receiver.
Right. Maybe
in the move, maybe not. And then even Matthew Stafford, their quarterback.
Right.
Possibly being shipped out.
Yeah.
So.
It's, and if you look at the Rams situation, through the lens of these potential trades, it's really like they're shifting their philosophy. Trading away guys like Kupp and Stafford would mean they're prioritizing those future draft picks over trying to save this season.
Yeah.
Kind of hit the reset button, hope to build the contender for the years to come.
Yeah, it's a risky move.
Yeah.
But maybe, necessary. Who knows? But, while the Rams are looking ahead, it seems like the Vikings, they've got their eyes on the prize right now.
Yeah. Present.
Yeah, they've been linked to Stafford, but they denied it.
Yeah.
But the thing that really caught my eye was, them possibly going after some defensive players.
Oh, yeah.
Dexter Lawrence from the Giants. He's a beast on that defensive line.
Big guy in the middle.
And then you get J.C. Horn.
Yeah.
Young cornerback, tons of potential.
Yeah, lots of potential.
What do you think about that?
Well, that's a fascinating angle. It seems like the Vikings already with a strong defense are thinking, hey, why not double down?
Right.
Adding a game changer on D could be their way of making a statement, letting everyone know they were serious about making a deep playoff run, maybe even going all the way.
Yeah, and speaking of defense, the Vikings have been absolutely dominant, this season. The article throws out some stats to show this, like how they rank 3rd in the league in expected points added per play. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and stats can sometimes make your eyes glaze over, but EPA is actually a really useful metric for understanding how well a defense is performing. Basically, it measures how well a defense is preventing the other team from scoring points. Think of it like a baseball team's runs allowed.
Oh, okay.
The lower the number, the better that defense is at shutting down their opponents.
Okay, so low EPA, that means the Vikings, they're like a brick wall.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And you can really see that, in their aggressive, blitz-heavy scheme.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The Vikings defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, he's got this history of building these really attacking defenses. You remember his time in Miami? He had those Dolphins playing some really stifling defense.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like he's bringing that same philosophy to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And it's working wonders.
And leading the charge is their head coach, Brian Flores. This guy, he loves to dial up the pressure, sending those extra rushers after the quarterback more than 51% of the time.
Wow.
That's like almost 7% more than any other team in the league.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of pressure.
And what's even more remarkable?
What's that?
It's actually been really effective. According to the article, the only quarterback who's managed to post a decent passer rating against the Vikings blitz this season has been Jared Goff, and that's probably because he's got that amazing offensive line protecting him in Detroit.
That'll do it.
Everybody else, they've been struggling to handle the heat.
Yeah.
Which brings us to, the other side of the coin here. The Rams offense, or should I say the Rams offensive struggles.
Yeah, well, the article doesn't pull any punches. They're calling out their pass protection as the worst in the league.
Wow.
And you know what? The numbers back that up.
Yeah.
They're ranked 24th in EPA per play on offense, so not only are they not scoring points, but they're actively giving the Vikings opportunities to put points on the board with their offensive miscues.
Yeah, and the article even goes on to describe their pass protection as spotty at best, which I think is a nice way of saying their quarterbacks are under siege back there.
Yeah. You got to feel for Matthew Stafford. The guy's already dealing with, the pressure of a losing season, and now he's going to face that relentless Vikings pass rush coming at him from all angles.
I could just hear the groans from the Rams fans already.
Yeah.
But, before we completely write them off, let's take a closer look at how this Rams offensive line, how do it actually stack up against this Vikings pass rush? The article gets into some interesting stats from Pro Football Focus.
PFF?
Yeah.
I love PFF.
That website that analyzes, player performance and, how much we love getting into the nitty-gritty details.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
Well, what's fascinating here is that PFF actually grades every single play of every NFL game.
Wow.
And those grades are used to evaluate players and teams in a really granular way.
Right.
So when we talk about the Rams pass blocking grade, we're looking at a comprehensive assessment of how well they're protecting their quarterback.
Okay.
So,
right. And let's just say those grades, they're not pretty. Their overall pass blocking grade is a dismal 40.2, which puts them near the bottom of the league.
Right.
But here's where it gets really interesting. When facing 5 or more rushers, when the Vikings bring that blitz, their grade plummets even further to 35.5.
Oof. That's a recipe for disaster, especially when you consider, the Vikings and their blitz-happy tendencies.
Right.
And it gets even worse when you look at something called knockdown percentage. This measures how often a quarterback is getting knocked to the ground when facing a blitz.
So how bad is it for the Rams?
Well, their knockdown percentage against the blitz is a league worst 22.6%.
Okay, hold on. So let me do the math here.
Yeah.
That means Stafford is hitting the turf on almost 1 out of every 4 plays when the Vikings are bringing the heat.
Exactly. And let's not forget, Stafford's not exactly known for his mobility. He's more of a pocket passer, which means he needs time and space to operate.
Yeah.
Against this Vikings defense, he's going to feel like he's stuck in a phone booth with those pass rushers coming at him from all angles.
So, putting it all together, you got a Rams team that's struggling to score points, a porous offensive line that can't protect their quarterback, and a Vikings defense that thrives on blitzing and creating chaos. I can see why the article's prediction leans heavily towards the Vikings covering the spread at -3.
And that's a pretty significant spread in the NFL, especially for a primetime matchup like this. It shows just how much confidence the experts have in the Vikings' ability to control this game. They've been a betting darling this season, boasting a 5-1 record against the spread, while the Rams have struggled mightily at 1-5.
But even with all this data pointing toward a Vikings victory, it's important to remember this is the NFL. Upsets can and do happen. Remember when the Jets shocked the Bills earlier this season?
Exactly. No matter how lopsided a matchup might seem on paper, there's always that element of unpredictability. The Rams could come out firing on all cylinders, Stafford could have a vintage performance, or maybe the Vikings defense has an off night.
Right.
You just never know.
That's why they play the game.
That's why they play the game. And, that's what makes it so exciting to watch.
Right.
But beyond the immediate outcome of this game, I think this matchup reveals some broader trends that are shaping the NFL.
Oh, like what?
Well, for one, we're seeing this resurgence of these aggressive, blitz-heavy defenses like the one Brian Flores has built in Minnesota.
Yeah.
It's almost like a throwback to the old days when defenses were allowed to be more physical and disruptive.
Yeah, it's almost like a pendulum swing.
Yeah.
For a while, it felt like the league was all about high-powered offenses and quarterbacks putting up video game numbers, but now the defenses, they're starting to fight back.
Right. And the Vikings, they're a prime example of that. They're not just blitzing for the sake of blitzing. They're doing it strategically, and they have the personnel to execute it effectively.
So you have to wonder, is this a sign of things to come? Are we going to see more teams adopt this aggressive defensive approach?
Yeah, it's a fascinating question, and it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the league responds. But for now, all eyes are on this Vikings-Rams matchup. It's a clash of styles, a test of wills, and a potential preview of what the future of the NFL might look like.
But let's not forget about those swirling trade rumors. The deadline is just a week away, and both of these teams are right in the thick of it. Imagine if a blockbuster trade goes down right before kickoff.
Whoa, now that would be something. Could you imagine Cooper Kupp suiting up for the Vikings in this very game? Or Matthew Stafford taking the field for a new team just days after being traded?
The drama would be off the charts, and it would raise some really fascinating questions about how these players would perform in such a high-pressure situation. Would they rise to the occasion, fueled by a fresh start and a desire to prove themselves? Or with the emotional upheaval of a trade, would it affect their performance?
Yeah, it's almost like a psychological experiment playing out on the football field. You'd have to wonder how their teammates would react too. Would it galvanize them, or would it create a sense of uncertainty and distraction?
And on the flip side,
Yeah.
how would those teams looking to acquire these players, how would they approach this game? Would they be hesitant to risk an injury to a potential trade target?
Yeah, it adds a whole new layer of intrigue to this matchup, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So to recap, you've got potential blockbuster trades looming, a clash of offensive and defensive philosophies, a betting line that heavily favors the Vikings, and enough human drama to fill a season of Hard Knocks.
It's safe to say this Thursday night football matchup is going to be one for the ages.
So if you're planning on watching this game, and let's be honest, who isn't?
Right.
Keep an eye out for those key factors we've been talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Will Stafford be running for his life against that Vikings pass rush?
Yeah.
Or can the Rams find a way to keep him upright and give him time to make plays?
I'm going to be watching that offensive line like a hawk. You know,
Yeah.
Can they hold up against that relentless Vikings pressure, or will we see Stafford getting sacked left and right?
Right.
And on the flip side, will the Vikings' blitz-heavy approach be their key to victory? Or could the Rams pull off a surprise and exploit their aggressiveness?
So many questions.
So many questions.
And only one way to find out.
Watch the game.
Exactly. But here's one more thought to chew on as you watch.
Okay.
We talked about the potential impact of trades on the game itself. But what about the impact on the players?
Oh, yeah.
Like, imagine your Cooper Kupp,
Right.
knowing that this might be your last game in a Rams uniform.
Or you're Matthew Stafford wondering what city you'll be calling home next week.
Right.
I mean, that uncertainty has to weigh on you.
Absolutely. You're trying to focus on the game, on executing your assignments.
Right.
But in the back of your mind, you're thinking about your future,
Yeah.
about what lies ahead.
And it's not just the players who might be traded. Think about their teammates, the guys who are staying put. They have to be wondering who's going to be in the locker room with me next week. Will we have the same guys battling alongside us?
It's a layer of complexity that goes beyond the X's and O's, beyond the stats and the play calling. It's about the human element, about the emotions and uncertainties that these players are dealing with.
And it's something to keep in mind as you watch this game unfold.
Right.
It's not just about who wins and who loses. It's about the stories behind those wins and losses, the human drama that plays out on the field.
Well said. So there you have it, folks. We went deep on this Vikings-Rams matchup.
Oh, yeah.
We explored the potential for blockbuster trades, the clashing styles of play, the betting odds, and even the psychological impact of the trade deadline.
Yeah, it was a good one.
So what do you think? What stood out to you?
What are your predictions for the game?
Head over to our social media pages and let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, we love hearing from you.
Exactly. And until next time, enjoy the game and keep diving deep.